The Lawyer's Tale, a modern adaptation of the Man of Law's Tale, from Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Introduction to the Lawyer's Tale. "Well," said the host, "this is a fine affair. You say you will, and then you won't. But there are others in the company who will regale us until we've had our fill. It's just past 10 now. The gambling's over at 1. A quarter of our time has thus far run, pleasantly I hope, for precious is each moment, and we find our joy in this, that though we cannot have again what's done, there's always more to have till we are gone. So, lawyer, come now, you must have a tale so full of lusty truth, our own lives pale beside the secrets told in confidence, that you might now disguise in fiction, whence good tales all come, from life, but subtly bent, sufficient to protect the innocent." "I'm afraid," the lawyer said, "that I have little in my head to satisfy the need to hear a tale yet unheard, and what I have strikes me as absurd. Yes, much in my long life that I have done might easily into a tale be spun, but Chaucer, in his massive oeuvre, has already done it with more pizzazz than I could ever generate. And so, like the chef, I'll to his great work go. But this time to a tale he finished, taking all the essential ingredients of its making and bringing it up to date, as you will see in this, a tale from Chaucer and from me." The Lawyer's Prologue. Oh, may we be spared from poverty, hunger, torture, rape, of loved ones shorn, and all descendants of this company from being of the starving billions born, all their lives to suffer and to mourn, or through some twist of fate or will of war, from being cast among the wretched poor. But if misfortune come to us, then let us bear it patiently and with good grace, for what we are is more than what we get, and fortune is far more than time and place, ready to return a strong embrace, as you will hear in this, my tale of woe and courage, that makes one of high and low. The Lawyer's Tale, Part 1. Anna Weiss was born to wealth and ease, a daughter doted on in early years by parents whose greatest pleasure was to please, and with love to inundate her fears, and with kisses still her infant tears. Till she was 4 she knew nor want nor pain, nurtured in a world both safe and sane. With her father she was very close. Often he would take her on his knee and read to her, or talk of what was most on her childish mind, but seriously, as though there were no better company. She was indulged, not spoiled, as she grew to imitate the generous love she knew. She was affectionate and trusting, shy at first, but then a little chatterbox, quick to laugh, not easy to make cry, innocent as yet of painful shocks that later fit the soul with doors and locks. Universally she was adored, an angel whose sweet face one's faith restored. All that wealth could do for her, it did. She had a spacious room chock full of toys, and what she wanted, want did not forbid. But most of all she learned the deeper joys that later lie beneath the foreground noise, all that taste and culture could instill, and grace around her could shape into will. Her father wanted her to learn what men at that time exclusively were taught, and to be equal to her husband when she married, in both character and thought, and bring to life more than her mother brought, not stunted in what she could say or do by being limited in what she knew. So was she destined for a happy life of pleasure, plenty, privilege, and praise, to marry well and be a loving wife and mother, who in turn would ably raise children bright and gentle in their ways. But fate had something else for her in store, as you will see, if you will listen more. When she was 4, the Germans came to town. Soon Anna had a Jewish star to wear on all her clothes. Now rarely she went down with her parents to play. The Germans there would curse and spit at Jews or cut their hair, and so they stayed at home and waited for the end of what seemed just another war. One day her parents told her she would go with Luba, a former nanny, for a while into the country. How long they didn't know, until the Germans, as was oft their style, finally left. And then, this with a smile, she and Luba would return, and they would be just as before she went away. Anna naturally could see behind the veil of normalcy to what the heart was saying, quite the opposite of mind, and understood for all her parents' art that they would for a long time be apart, perhaps forever. She wept and held them tight, and nothing that they said could make it right. Till Luba had forcibly to pry her from her parents and drag her out the door, while they, weeping, did not even try to stop her, so that Anna became sure that Luba was a witch, the kind that tore children from their parents, so that she might eat them up, once fattened properly. They took a train out to the countryside, and then a horse-drawn cart, and then on foot through snowy fields to a barn with cows inside, some goats and horses too. Then Luba put down the things they brought with them and shut the door and said that Anna must stay here until there were no Germans left to fear. She would bring her food each day, she said, but warned her never to go outside, because the Germans wanted all Jews dead and searched for Jews to murder far and wide. So should some stranger enter, she should hide beneath the hay and not come out at all until she heard Luba to her call. Then Luba left the child there alone, with nothing but the cows to keep her warm. Whether she returned cannot be known, for little Anna, weeping, left the barn, thinking that the witch might do her harm, fattening her up to eat her, as occurred in a tale that she had lately heard. How else explain the power of the witch over her parents? She must have cast a spell, or maybe Luba engineered a switch with demons that in deep dark forests dwell, and her loving parents. Who could tell? Her parents never would have sent her here. So much, then, was absolutely clear. Little Anna walked across a field and found a path that led into a wood. It was past 4. The light began to yield, and there before her evil demons stood, 5 of them, all dressed as demons should, in shrouds that blended with the ambient snow, and blocked the path on which she now would go. One came near and knelt in front of her. "Who are you?" he asked, "my dear sweet child?" She was not used to Polish, though there were many words she understood. He smiled and said, "A little Jewish girl," then piled some snow into his hand, a little mound, covered her face, and threw her to the ground. What they did to her, I need not tell. Enough to say she bled from front and back, left lying naked in the snow that fell like heavy frozen tears down from the black sky, half burying her on the drifted track, as she, freezing, could not move, but lay dying on the unfrequented way. And then she saw an angel coming near, who dropped a sack of wood and knelt beside her, praying silently. Yet she could hear music like an overwhelming tide drown her in love, when else she would have died. A love just like the pain she could not bear, flowing from the angel with blonde hair. Part 2. 28 years now pass, and Anna Weiss is Anna Michnowitz, a Catholic Pole, married to her angel, who is twice her age, unquestioned icon of her soul, father, husband, lover, joy, the whole passion of her life, but for Christ, whose love alone for her would have sufficed. The horror in the woods became a gift through which she found divine and earthly love, a trauma that eventually would shift her childish vision to perception of the permanence of pain and need to move with dancer's grace to choreography beyond what she could comprehend or see. It was enough to witness pain, of course, and feel the fullness of our suffering, for God alone had wisdom, wit, and force to render good and true salvation bring. The love one felt was what made one's soul sing, 1/1000th part of what one had received from Christ, if one's heart could be believed. Still, one ought to imitate his life, who came to earth to illustrate the good, teaching by example man and wife, who otherwise might not love as they should, not knowing love within as now they could. Love was the gift that Christ gave on the cross, turning it to gold life's bitter dross. So Anna loved her husband long and well, a farm wife with 2 sons. At times she thought of her strange past, though it was hard to tell fantasy from memory. She caught glimpses of a time that sometimes brought such pain to think about. She let it go, wondering whether it was real or no. Her husband Jacek was a fiery man who fought against injustice and oppression, first against the lords of his own land, then against the foreigners' aggression, the Nazis and the Reds in swift succession. Often he was beaten and in jail, but now he was becoming old and frail. One day some friends came to the house and said that he would be the special target of a campaign to remove all those who led some protests that had too successful proved, and so the government to slander moved. They would say he was a Zionist spy and his wife a Jew, which was a lie. Jacek blushed and said that it was true. He found his wife when she was just a child, raped and dying in the woods. A Jew, yes, she was by birth, and here he smiled, but now with Christ completely reconciled, spending so much time upon her knees that he would often miss his midnight squeeze. This is no joke, they said. They will accuse you of Zionism and your wife. You must go into exile now, or lose for good your freedom, and perhaps your life. The capital is with these rumors rife, that to crack down on protests, they will use the age-old Polish hatred of the Jews. Jacek didn't want to go, but when they warned that Anna might be tortured too, he gave in reluctantly, and then did everything they said that he should do, afraid of what his wife might be put through after all she suffered long ago when he found her dying in the snow. Off they went, they and their 2 boys, Adam and Lech, guided on their way from house to house by those who found their joys in making their dark midnight into day, living as they would, while others lay in darkness, slaves to history and will, the innocent accomplices of ill. They crossed the borders of those states enslaved on foot, through woods or over mountain passes, crossing streams in small boats and on paved roads, or gravel, pounding through crevasses, barely breathing as a guard harasses the driver at a checkpoint drowned in light, harsh and ugly adjunct to the night. And then at last, a crossing so remote, to a place so backward None can tell what century it is, where a boat awaits to take them out of that cold hell, across the sea to where one might rebel and speak the truth and say what one believes, and not be ruled by murderers and thieves. But here the brave, like-minded network ends, and smugglers for pay must take their place, far less dependable than were their friends among the many dangers that they face. The smuggler leads them at too fast a pace, and soon is gone, too far ahead to see, abandoning the wounded family. And there upon a ridgeline, Anna saw the same 5 evil demons she had seen so long ago, when she was only 4, coming towards them like some awful dream that could not be, but is. Anna's scream echoed like a banshee's off the hills, the kind the heart with dread and anguish fills. But why detail what those demons did? First they stifled Anna's screams and tied her hand and foot, then took what was hid in clothes that her sweet angels wore, then tried to find out more with torture till they died. Anna's angels buried in a wood, while Christ looked on and wept, as well he should. After raping her till they were done, they sold Anna to a brothel in some town deep in the mountains, far from anyone who spoke her language or might help her. Down in a dark cellar, she was tightly bound until the owner finished eating dinner, then came down to teach the raw beginner. She found her deep in prayer on her knees, for Christ had come to see her there and held her in his arms. She had begged him please to take her to her angels, but life knelled incessantly for her as bright tears welled into his eyes. Not yet, not yet, he said. You've much to do before you join the dead. Then she wept for comfort in his chest, as child to parent, burrowing inside toward something that made sense of all the rest, a love for all that was, that never died, in which all things might innocent abide. The owner then unbound her, let her be, for never did she such sweet radiance see. And so it was the next few months, as Anna became a prostitute in that small place, accepting what her fate had thrust upon her without complaint and with uncanny grace, that made the men ashamed to see her face, and gave to those who shared her slavery new hope in what they sensed but could not see. But knowing that Christ wasn't welcome here, Anna learned the teachings of Islam, as she taught the others not to fear but to find strength in God, the Am that Am, while they taught her the ways of the Quran, and their language, which was of the same kind as hers, and so words quickly came. As Anna practiced well the Muslim faith, she came to love it also, and to pray to Allah purely, as the Prophet saith, without Christ's human image in the way. Yet for her faith she dearly had to pay, especially since she influenced the others to treat even their customers as brothers. Yet there was something beautiful within that made even the brutes that owned her pause, evil as they were and steeped in sin, but human still and touched by higher laws, though rarely acting without selfish cause. And so they sold her to a pious man who freed her and then asked her for her hand. Part 3. 30 years now pass, and Anna Weiss is Anna Spahiou, wife of Muhammadin. Although a Muslim, she's still in love with Christ, adding new loves to what loves have been, seeing through eyes shaped by what she's seen. She is poor, the years show on her face, yet she is grateful for this time and place. Most of all, she loves the times of prayer, alone with Allah, pure and full of peace, a breath upon the void, no more than there, free of all that must begin and cease, a bit of longing for release. At such times her suffering and joy become one love no demon can destroy. Her husband was a widower with 3 young girls, for whom he needed soon a mother. Hearing of this saint, he went to see her for himself, and then would have no other. The first few years he was to her a brother, but then she came to love him as a wife, and shared with him his sweet but meager life. They now were getting old. The daughters gone to their husbands' villages nearby, married and with children. Left alone, Anna and her husband oft would lie, hand in hand, and share a silent sigh. The house full of memories, calm and still, rich with love, untenanted by will. But one night demons knocked upon their door, then knocked it down, and came inside. The same 5 demons that had come for her before, laughing as they called them both by name, Anna and Muhammadin, then came into the bedroom, neighbors that they knew, yet now doing just what demons do. Dirty Muslim pigs, they said, then dragged them out the door and set the house on fire. Your wife will love this, the cruel demons bragged, as they tied her husband up with wire, then raped her till they had all their desire. Just wanted you to see, they laughing said, then shot her weeping husband in the head. And then they left, those demons, as she lay bleeding on the ground from front and back, as she had so long ago, that day she met her angel on the forest track, as snow like frozen tears fell from the black sky, and she lay dying and in pain. But this time, like the last, her man was slain. And so she prayed to God that she might die and not be rescued this time. Her desire was simply to beside her husband lie and never move again, but to expire as though to sleep. No hope did she require, nor faith, nor love, but all was bleak despair, for life itself was more than she could bear. Oh, those who stoke the evil in each heart, for power, vengeance, greed, or hope of gain, know that as you play your ugly part, there is a part of you that writhes in pain, and drives you on to massacre again. You shape your inner world, and outer too, by everything you think, or say, or do. And so for good, the opposite is true. For love allows the loving soul to flower, and being's sweet effulgence to renew with more resilience and with greater power, as it did in Anna's darkest hour, moving her to move and then to rise, though no one heard her sharp and painful cry. She found a shovel near the burned-out barn and buried her dear husband where he fell, untying first his feet and then his arms, that he might rest in heaven safe and well, away from this advertisement for hell. And then she left her smoldering abode to join her fellow Muslims on the road. For days they walked, with little food or water, thousands, tens of thousands on the run, towards a distant and indifferent border, where they were left in limbo, and undone by hunger, thirst, and sickness one by one, in their thousands slowly dying there, a nation dispossessed and in despair. Anna searched the camp for her stepdaughters, hearing things that filled her heart with dread, many seeking kin as she sought hers, only to find for certain they were dead, killed by Christians or dying as they fled. 2 sons-in-law were dead, that much she heard, but of the others there was not a word. Sick with grief and hunger, still in pain, Anna fainted, and there she would have died but for some angels finding her again, and with a stretcher taking her inside a tent, where volunteers from Israel tried to save those that they could, though Muslims all, and they were Jews who came at mercy's call. When Anna woke, she heard a doctor say, in a language that she knew, "She will be fine." He knelt down where she lay to feel her pulse, then satisfied withdrew. "Wait," she said, "please wait. I am a Jew." The translator translated. The doctor turned as lost, beloved memories through her burned. "My name is Anna Weiss," she said, "born somewhere in Poland soon before the war. But then I was from my poor parents torn and became a Christian. After more troubles, then a Muslim. Please, before you go away, I wish that you would see whether anyone still looks for me." The doctor nodded, then withdrew again. Anna waited white with hope inside the tent, while he contacted Yad Vashem in Israel to say that he had tried, certain she, to stay alive, had lied. But sure enough, Anna Weiss was there, a little girl lost near Lublin somewhere. The doctor then returned to her and said, "There is an Anna Weiss among those named as missing, though none knows alive or dead." But looking for some proof she had not feigned, he said a prayer that she might have retained. "Baruch atah," no, it is a toy. And so they hugged and kissed and wept with joy. Part 4. 6 months later, Anna Weiss was on a plane from Tel Aviv to JFK, looking for her father, who was gone from the last place he'd been known to stay after moving to the USA. For 50 years he'd faithfully sent in his address and his phone to Yad Vashem. He had never given up on her. He registered her name soon after he had come to Israel. The others were all dead, each member of his family gassed or shot. He could not know that she had been saved by her angel, and then grew up barely knowing that she was a Jew. She followed him upon the ledger there, from Tel Aviv to Dan to Jerusalem, and then Seattle, Cleveland, and Bel Air, but always telling Yad Vashem address and phone, that they might tell him when she had been found, or perhaps they'd heard from someone, somewhere, sometime. Just one word. His last address and phone, in Riverdale, the Bronx, was sent in just 4 years ago. She called and wrote to him, to no avail, and now is flying in, that she might know if he was still alive, and then, if so, would want to come to live with her at last, to heal the wound inflicted so long past. She traced him to a nursing home nearby where he had lived, and went to see him there, directed to a ward, she knew not why, to which he had to be buzzed in, and where there seemed to be but little nursing care. Residents roamed up and down the halls aimlessly, or leaned against the walls. She found a desk, deserted, then a nurse in a white coat, and asked her for her father. She led her to a room where someone cursed them viciously, got up, began to totter towards them, then decided not to bother, collapsing back to bed. "That's him," she said, then went back out, no longer interested. "Papa," Anna cried, though knowing he no longer was, yet was. She was too late and yet on time to live the irony that was the last expression of their fate. So long had both of them had to wait to be rejoined. And now he could not know the daughter he had lost so long ago. 2 years she stayed to care for him, while she worked as a companion and a maid in the USA illegally, alone and poor, and ever more afraid of being caught the longer that she stayed. She wrote to her stepchildren, now back home, and talked to them from time to time by phone, but could not go to see them, lest when she returned, she would not be allowed back in. Every day she could, she went to see her father, though unrecognized by him, and fed him that he might not get too thin, until he died, and she was free once more to start again, as she had done before. She went back to Israel to live in Bat Yam, a suburb by the sea, living off a pension that they give to Holocaust survivors, and which she was sent by her remaining family for her share of the farm, which they had sold to someone who had paid for it in gold. They reburied their father properly, inviting her to come, which now she could, and did, though as a Jew, which all could see, and prayed and wept for her dear husband, good man that he was, and later stood deep in the mountains where her angel lay, and her 2 sons, and on her knees she prayed. Dear Christ, she prayed, and Allah, and Jehovah, a trinity now of a different kind, 3 in 1, my gods, may you look over all my loved ones gone, and help me find them once I leave this gift of life behind. She hungered then for death, when she might be reunited with her family. Her stepdaughters were anxious she remained with them to spend in comfort her last days, but she returned to Israel again, which was to her home in many ways. The first she felt her own, where no bright glaze need cover her dark truth, as it had done till she to Israel's tent had finally come. She studied Hebrew and the Talmud too, kept a kosher home, observed Shabbat and all the holidays as they came due, transforming her home to a Migdash Me'at, a little space of holiness, where not one demon would not bow the head and pray, so pure and clean and simple was her way. Yet well she knew the demons were still there, waiting to be summoned by the heart that would call out and draw them from the air to play their ghastly, cruel, inhuman part, and commandeer the souls that now would start to massacre and torture, burn and rape those whom for their difference they would hate. The demons, yes, were rampant among Jews and Arabs both, just itching to begin the reign of hate that would collect the dues long owed by both sides for the years of sin, a retribution savored long within. Yet angels too were hovering nearby, singing songs that filled the radiant sky. Just as the sun casts its light on earth, not meaning to, so Anna gave to her small circle of good neighbors something worth far more than those whose words the many stir, a peace that helped to calm what passions were dancing in their hearts, also a grace that helped to make a sanctum of that place. So there's my tale, the best that I can render, leaving Anna innocent but wise, Tiresias of faith instead of gender, having worshipped God through many eyes, becoming what would else have been disguise, and joining in her prayer all those who love, and whose sweet will to peace might others move. Epilogue to The Lawyer's Tale. By God, that was the most affecting tale, the bartender exclaimed, lifting his ale. And long enough for 2 or 3, I'd say. But now enough of God, I humbly pray, and preaching in the guise of narrative. I want to see some characters who live as I do. Minister, is that okay? The lawyers stole your thunder. If I may, could we have a tale without religion? But I say too much. It's your decision. That it is, the minister agreed. Perhaps I shouldn't go. If you have need, I'll take his turn, the engineer broke in. I have a tale steeped in venal sin, some bitter beer, the taste of every day, where morals are a universal gray. Let the minister assume my place later on, perhaps when we can face another tale to profit from. Right now we'd favor one distinctly lower brow. All agreed that's what they'd want to hear. And so this next went to the engineer.